today that the WNBA, WNBA NBPA met for roughly 3 hours. We found out that there was a fracture. I don't care what the terminology the Players Committee wants to use. We found out there is a fracture among the committee. You've got one group that's willing to strike. You got another group that doesn't really want to.
That side eye he just mentioned, that's exactly what's happening right now across social media. Because new details just leaked from yesterday's WNBA collective bargaining meeting in New York, and the numbers are making players look worse by the hour. We're not talking about minor details here. We're talking about salary projections that completely flip the narrative about who's being unreasonable in these negotiations. The meeting lasted 3 hours. 40 players showed up, some in person, some on Zoom, and according to multiple reports, there's a fracture in the Players Committee. One group wants to strike, another group doesn't. But here's what nobody was talking about until yesterday. The actual numbers the league put on the table.
Our proposal. Now you know where we stand. Well, we've got some more data that's come out. Ramona Shelburne, who does a really good job covering the NBA, well, ESPN has obtained some information that was presented to the players at yesterday's meeting, summarizing the WNBA's current positions. So we got some nice graphics here. It's good to know people know how to use a PowerPoint. Although one could add, this is it. Okay. Okay, fine. I get it. Hey.
Right. The league showed up and said, our proposal is our proposal. No counteroffer. No negotiation. Just, here's where we stand. Take it or leave it. And that's when things got interesting. Because ESPN's Ramona Shelburne obtained documents that were presented to players at that meeting. PowerPoint slides, revenue projections, salary scenarios, the kind of concrete data that changes conversations. And one of those slides contains a revenue figure that's about to make this entire strike threat look completely different. Because if you're a casual fan who's been hearing players talk about how they deserve more, and you're thinking, yeah, they probably do deserve more, these numbers are going to make you reconsider who's actually being reasonable here.
Interesting, the next slide. Look at this, folks. All right, the WNBA has built in a scenario, all right, to where the league continues to grow at a rate of 5% all the way to the end of the CBA, the next CBA, the one they're offering. All right, we talked about they got offered $1.87 million, nearly $1.9 million in the last year in 2031. However, and somebody did ask me earlier, how long was the new CBA? I said, I think it's roughly 6 years. Well, okay, it looks like 5 years. But this is interesting.
Let's break down what's actually in this proposal, because the details matter. The league laid out 3 primary goals. First, substantially increase player salaries to reflect recent and future business growth. That sounds reasonable. Second, maintain business health and profitability. Also reasonable, considering the league has never turned a profit in its 27-year history. Third, maintain incentives for team and league investment. Makes sense when you're asking owners to keep funding losses. But it's the next slide that's causing all the controversy. The league built in 2 scenarios, the base scenario and a higher revenue scenario. And the higher revenue scenario is where this gets absolutely wild. Because the league is essentially saying, if we grow at 5% annually for the next 5 years, here's what your salaries could look like. And those projected salaries are roughly 10 times what players make right now.
League and team revenue growth rates. So, the league is saying, in my opinion, this is what they're saying. If we grow 25%, 5 times 5, this could be your projected salary. The projected Supermax salary, if the league grows 25%, 5% per year, 5 years in a row, this projected Supermax salary is $2.4 million. 2.4 million. Guys, I don't know. Let me just throw some quick math out for you. It's basically 10 times what the current Supermax salary is.
The current Supermax salary in the WNBA is $250,000. Under the league's base proposal for 2031, that Supermax would jump to $1.87 million. That's already a massive increase. But under the higher revenue scenario, assuming that 5% annual growth, the projected Supermax hits $2.4 million. $2.4 million in 5 years for a league that's never been profitable. And it's not just the Supermax. The average salary under that higher revenue scenario would be $1 million per year. The minimum salary would jump to $780,000 in the base scenario, and even higher under the growth scenario. These aren't incremental raises. These are transformational, career-changing numbers that would put WNBA salaries in a completely different stratosphere. So when you hear players talking about striking, when you hear about this fracture in the committee, you have to ask, what exactly are they striking for?
They're saying 2.4 million in 5 years. The same can be applied over here. We knew by the end of the current CBA offer, look at where the minimum salary is right now, $120,000. It would go to $780,000 projected 2031. But 2031 higher revenue scenario, same thing. Add 5% per year growth, 25% total. I would assume it would have to be 5%, and then 5 more percent, and then...
Now let's talk about context, because this doesn't exist in a vacuum. The WNBA has lost money every single year since its founding in 1997. The NBA has subsidized those losses for nearly 3 decades. And yes, the league is growing. Viewership spiked in 2024, largely because of Caitlin Clark. Attendance is up. Sponsorship deals are bigger. The new media rights deal is worth significantly more than the previous one. But here's the thing about growth. It has to be sustainable. The league is smart to build in these scenarios that reward players if the growth continues. Because what if 2024 was an outlier? What if Caitlin Clark's rookie season created a bubble that doesn't hold? What if casual fans who showed up for her don't stick around for the league long term? The owners have every reason to be cautious after absorbing decades of losses. And that's exactly what this proposal reflects. Caution combined with optimism. The base offer already represents massive salary increases. The higher revenue scenario offers even more if the league hits those growth targets. It's a structure that protects the league's financial health while giving players a clear path to enormous earnings.
I gotta admit, that's funny as hell. I cannot believe 36 and 37. Complimentary All-Star tickets for all players. That's funny. I don't care who you are. That's actually funny. I mean,
And then there are the other details. The ones that are almost funny if you think about them too hard. Item number 33 on the proposal. Elimination of marijuana testing. Get as high as you want, as long as you show up and play basketball. Item 36. 3 All-Star tickets for all players. Item 37. Free WNBA League Pass. Those last two are legitimately hilarious. The fact that players currently have to buy their own tickets to the All-Star game, that's wild. The fact that they have to pay for League Pass to watch their own league, also wild. But it's funny for a different reason too, because it highlights just how far this league still has to go in terms of basic professional infrastructure.
So the players are turning this deal down? Y'all might as well strike. Y'all might as well strike in the season and in the league. I don't even know what to say. This makes the players look...
But let's get back to the core issue, because this is where public perception matters. The players are considering striking over this offer. An offer that would increase the Supermax to nearly $2 million in 5 years. An offer that would make the average salary $1 million if the league hits reasonable growth targets. An offer that includes marijuana testing, elimination, and free all-star tickets, and league pass subscriptions. And the question every fan is asking right now is, what more do you want? This isn't the NBA, where the league generates billions in profit and players are fighting for their fair share of existing revenue. This is a league that loses money every year. A league where owners have funded losses out of their own pockets for 27 years. A league that's finally seeing real growth, but needs to make sure that growth is sustainable before committing to salary structures that could bankrupt teams if the bubble bursts. The optics of striking over this offer are terrible. Absolutely terrible. Because casual fans see $2.4 million and think that sounds pretty good for a league that's never made money. They see $1 million average salaries and think that's a massive win. They see the league trying to balance player compensation with financial sustainability and think that sounds reasonable. Here's what makes this particularly complicated. The players have legitimate grievances about how the league has been run. They've been underpaid for years while watching the NBA thrive. They've had to play overseas during the offseason just to make a living wage. They've dealt with substandard travel, inadequate marketing, and a general sense that the league doesn't invest in them the way it should. All of that is true, all of that is valid, and all of that creates a situation where players feel like they've earned the right to push for more. But timing matters, leverage matters, and right now, the players are pushing at a moment when the league is offering them generational wealth increases, while also trying to ensure the league doesn't collapse under unsustainable salary commitments. The league is saying, we'll pay you like professionals if you help us build something sustainable. And the players are saying, that's not enough. The fracture in the players' committee makes sense when you understand this dynamic. Some players look at $2.4 million supermax salaries and think that's life-changing money, let's take it. Other players look at NBA salaries and think we should be getting 50% of revenue like they do, regardless of whether the league is profitable. Both perspectives are understandable, but only one is realistic given the league's financial situation. Think about what striking would actually accomplish. Let's say the players refuse to play and force the league to negotiate further. What's the best-case scenario? Maybe they get the revenue split up from the proposed percentage to something closer to 50-50. But if the league isn't profitable, 50% of nothing is still nothing. You'd be fighting for a bigger share of losses. And here's the worst-case scenario. A strike alienates the casual fans who just discovered the WNBA in 2024, the Caitlin Clark fans. The people who don't have deep loyalty to the league yet. Those fans see millionaire athletes refusing to play over an offer that would make them multimillionaires. And they tune out. They go back to watching the NBA or college basketball or something else entirely. And suddenly the growth that justified these salary projections disappeared. That's not hypothetical. That's what happens when leagues misread their leverage. The players think they have power because viewership is up, but viewership is fragile. It's built on one player and one season of momentum. It hasn't been tested over time. And if you're the league, you're looking at that fragility and thinking we need to lock in sustainable growth before we commit to salaries that assume this momentum continues forever. Now let's talk about the specific players who didn't show up to the New York meeting. Napheesa Collier and Kelsey Plum said the weather was too bad to travel. Meanwhile, Caitlin Clark was in New York that same day for a game at Madison Square Garden. The optics of that are not great. The two players who skipped the meeting are established stars who would benefit from the higher salary structure. The one player who showed up is the rookie who's driving most of the league's growth right. What does that tell you about who's actually invested in getting this deal done versus who's posturing for leverage? And here's the thing about Caitlin Clark specifically. She's the reason this proposal includes such massive salary increases. She's the reason the media rights deal is bigger. She's the reason casual fans are paying attention. And she showed up to the meeting while veterans skipped it. That's gonna matter when public opinion starts forming around this negotiation. Because public opinion does matter. The WNBA doesn't exist in a bubble. It needs fans to watch games, buy tickets, purchase merchandise, and create the revenue that funds these salaries. And if fans perceive the players as ungrateful or unrealistic, that affects everything. It affects attendance, it affects viewership, it affects sponsorship deal. It affects whether casual fans stick around or drift away. The league knows this. That's why they leaked these documents. That's why we're seeing PowerPoint slides with specific salary projections on social media. The league is making a public case that they're being reasonable, and they're letting the numbers speak for themselves. $2.4 million supermax salaries, $1 million average salaries, elimination of marijuana testing, free league pass, free all-star ticket. They're saying, look at what we're offering and then ask yourself if a strike makes sense. And for a lot of fans, the answer is no. A strike doesn't make sense. Not over this offer, not when the league is already offering transformational salary increases, contingent on sustainable growth. Not when the alternative is risking the momentum the league has finally built. The Players Committee has a decision to make. They can accept this offer, lock in generational wealth for themselves and future players, and help build something sustainable. Or they can push for more, risk a strike, potentially alienate the casual fans who just discovered the league, and gamble that the growth from 2024 continues regardless of whether they play or not. One of those paths leads to long-term stability and massive salary increases. The other leads to uncertainty and risk. And the fracture in the committee suggests that players themselves can't agree on which path makes more sense. So here's the question you need to answer. If you're a WNBA player looking at a proposal that would pay you up to $2.4 million within 5 years, in a league that's never been profitable, would you strike? Would you risk alienating fans and destroying momentum over the difference between this offer and whatever theoretical better offer you think you can get? Because, from where I'm sitting, this offer looks pretty good. It looks like the league is trying to balance player compensation with financial reality. It looks like they're rewarding growth while protecting against the possibility that 2024 was an outlier. And it looks like the players who are pushing for a strike might be overplaying their hand at exactly the wrong moment. Let me know what you think in the comments. Are the players right to push for more, or is this offer better than they're gonna get anywhere else? And hit subscribe, because this negotiation is far from over, and we're gonna be covering every development as it happens.